we attach ideas to purpose, but that's not outright what a purpose is.
But it's like the hardest part is to kind of get the engine running like a locomotive. Kind of slow at the beginning. It's like chug, chug.
I knew at that time that I didn't have the power to change someone's life.
If this is what momentum is, if this is what physics is and light, why am I any different? The laws must work through me as well.
Just watch out for the daggers flying across the table. Hi, I'm Dave Conway, and I'm here with my wife, Jacqueline. Welcome to the 30-Day Year. On this podcast, we're sharing stories, ideas, and philosophies to show you what it takes to turn your annual income into your monthly income. I've learned that the first step to creating a 30-day year is entertaining new ideas that might at first appear strange or even laughable. But stick with us as we reveal that this idea is a very real way to build success. Our plan is to spark curiosity into what you're capable of achieving by exploring ideas around freedom, contribution, work, life, everything. The content may even disturb your perception of life a bit too, which we hope it does. This podcast is not about us, it's all about you. So sit back, relax, and come in with an open mind. Welcome to the 30-Day Year.
I want to talk about a big idea today. Are you up for that?
Oh yeah.
All right, I want to talk about...
Deeper the better.
Deeper the better. That's so your MO. Like, you guys, I live in a seminar. It's real. So...
What's it like living with Dave? It's like living in a seminar.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I told that to someone recently because it's true.
Yeah, I think it was last week, he said, look, I don't want to be in a seminar even in my kitchen.
You guys.
And then I said to her, too bad.
He said in the design phase of our new house that he was putting a stage in to practice his seminars. Yeah. But I was like, why bother? The whole house is a freaking stage. Anyways, sorry. Let's get into it.
All the world's a stage.
It's just crazy. Okay, so the theme of the call is purpose. And we even called this episode a question. If I had a purpose, what would it be? And we're going to get into purpose today. And I think you're very good at teaching this concept. And I know you think you're good at teaching this concept.
I think I'm excellent at it.
So just a quick rewind for everyone. So Dave and I have been running seminars for many years together, like 5+ years, maybe 6. I'm not sure. It's been a while.
Our first one was on November 30th.
2017.
2017.
So since then, that's like 7 years. Mm-hmm. 7 years we've been running seminars together. Close. And one of our very first seminars was called the Goal Achiever Workshop. This was I still think one of our best. All of our seminars are amazing. I can't say that it's our best, but it's a really good seminar.
Well, I'm going to say our first seminar was the best seminar, but...
That's true.
It was a good start.
It was a good start, but the content was really good. They've all been good. It's really hard. I get so connected to the early days because you're just starting. It's like your baby pictures of your kids,
Yeah, goo goo gaga.
Right. So one of the themes from that original seminar really dove into purpose. And I remember being at all of those events. You ran at least 10 of them. Mm-hmm. And it was around the 7th or 8th time that we ran the event when I actually feel like I got it emotionally. I feel intellectually I kind of understood what purpose is, and we're going to talk about it more. And so it was really the repetition of it. So depending where you're at when it comes to understanding purpose or articulating it for yourself, I'd say this might be an episode that might be on repeat for a while. You may want to listen to this a few times. So pulling back from the Goal Achiever Workshop days, from the OG, Conway Consulting, Dave Conway Mentorship, when you teach purpose, Dave, where do we even start?
Yeah, so it's a huge idea because there's so many different trains of thought that we can think of purpose. Let's say we wake up one morning and we want to go get a coffee. Well, that could be our purpose in that moment,
The action of getting a coffee?
Yeah, sure. Anything that you're up to has a purpose. There's always a purpose, an energy or a motive that backs all activities.
So the desire is actually the purpose for coffee.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the motive. Well, the purpose is probably not to have a headache by 10 o'clock if you're a coffee addict, and to wake up and to feel good.
I freaking love coffee.
I just love it so much. So yeah, when it comes to purpose, it's not just taught, it's thought about in so many different ways. And, I've asked tens of thousands of people this question. What's your purpose in life?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question.
It's a great question. Like, what's your purpose? And for a lot of people, that's the first time they've ever actually thought it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think, we're called human beings, but I think we probably should change it to human doings because, being is very rare.
Very unoften do we ask ourselves why we're doing things.
Yeah, exactly. We're just doing things.
We're just doing things.
Doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll ask a group of people, if you had a purpose, what would it be? And the answers are generally the same all the time.
Yes.
And
there's themes.
Yes, big time.
Yeah.
And when you get to the root of it, like if you have a mother, she's going to say, it's to be a great mother.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a father, it's like, to be a great father, to be a great spouse. And at the root of all of these purposes for any sane person, it's to give. Mm-hmm. It's to help. It's to support.
Right.
And the reason that people have such a difficult time articulating what a purpose is because purpose is not a thing.
Right.
Purpose is a feeling.
Yes.
And it's a universal feeling.
Yeah, I like that idea.
It's what actually makes us human. It's actually what connects us all.
Right.
So I'll ask people the question like, who here believes that they're destined for something greater?
Everybody.
Everybody says me.
Yep.
Who here feels that they could be doing better?
Everybody.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Who here believes that they're destined for more?
Everybody.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's the universal feeling. So to be human is to want better, and to want better is to be human.
Yep.
And this is what bonds us all. We may appear different. I could be a man, you could be a woman. I could have brown hair, you could have blonde hair. I could have brown eyes, you could have blue eyes, right? I could be 40 years old and you could be 39 years old, like whatever. We appear different. Like we do appear different, and we are different in our results. We're different in our thinking.
Yes. In our manifestation, in what we're good at and what we want to do with our time.
That's right. But inside, we're actually all the same. We all have this same feeling that we're destined for more. And can ask the listener right now, just ask yourself, do you feel like you're destined for more?
Right.
And if I had a purpose, what would it be? So the purpose is not a thing.
Yeah, it's a feeling.
That's right. So a lot of times, we attach ideas to purpose, but that's not outright what a purpose is. A purpose is a feeling. What we choose to attach that feeling to, that would be considered a goal or a thing. So I'll give you an example. Let's say as a child, I was bullied a lot. And then at 17 years old, I started to speak out. And people liked what I had to say. So I kind of hit world fame. I became the anti-bullying boy.
Sure, yeah.
And I was toured all around North America and the world, doing talks at schools, and I was getting brought on podcasts, and I was getting interviewed on the news, and I was getting interviewed on Times, and this is Dave Conway, the anti-bullying boy,
Yep.
And I'm fighting the good fight. And if you asked me, what's your purpose, Dave? I'd say it's to eradicate bullying in the world, or to bring awareness to bullying. That's my purpose, right?
Right.
So let's say I'm traveling around at that time, I ended up meeting you, I marry you, we have our daughters, Abby and Lily. And then, let's fast forward, I'm 26 years old now, and I come home one day from a world anti-bullying boy tour, and, I come in the front door and all my bags are packed.
Yeah.
And you're standing there and you say to me, you know what? We want a husband I want a husband that's present physically here with us, and I want my children to have a father that's here present, and we're not willing to sacrifice that for your service of this group of people in the world. And I love you dearly, and I love my children, so I say, okay, I'll stop. Now, I'm an extreme guy, though. So then I become...
I love how this example isn't too far from reality.
So then, I'm not the anti-bullying boy, I'm an extreme guy. So then I become the savior marriage man.
Right. Yeah,
because I've
naturally.
Yeah. So the next thing I'm back on the road out there. helping men save the marriage, like, stopping men from hiding in their work and all these things. And I become the trumpet player of this idea. And then if you ask me at that time, it's like, what's your purpose? I'd say, well, it's to help men save the marriage, it's to save marriages.
Right.
Well, that doesn't quite make sense. Because if I was the anti-bullying boy and I was convinced that was my purpose,
right,
then I became the save your marriage man. And then that's now my purpose.
Right.
You see, what we want to understand is that this purpose idea, this feeling is constant. It's an energy.
Yes,
it's
right.
always there.
It's like an expression.
That's right. How you choose or how you've been chosen, one or the other, chicken or the egg, how you choose to express that feeling, that can change.
Right.
But our purpose as human beings is a constant.
Right. So how I'm interpreting this is that you're just trying to share that there's a difference between feeling and identity.
Yeah, how you choose to express.
How you choose to express it.
That's
so
right.
This sub-alternate universe world, Dave, has two different identities in his life. He's the anti-bullying boy, and then he's the savior marriage guy. But he has the same sort of energy backing him in both instances.
That's right.
But it just like manifests and transfers through you differently, depending on the identity you choose to adopt.
You got it. This could be a stay-at-home mother.
Yeah.
It could be a stay-at-home father.
That's right.
It could be a taxi driver. It could be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
It could be any form of work.
Yes.
You see, the work can change, and for a lot of us, it does change.
It does.
But the
Yeah.
purpose is constant.
Yeah.
And the reason that it's constant is because it's actually a universal law.
Yeah, it's like spirit. It's
That's
like
right.
spirit flowing through us.
That's right. It's spirit and it's energy. And energy is expressive. It's expansive. So like the universe itself is expanding. It's multiplying. The mathematics of the universe is multiplication.
Right.
So it's constantly exponential growth, like compound interest on compound interest, compound on compound. And that's that feeling. And that's why we all feel universally that we all feel like we're destined for more.
You know what? It gave me an insight is that it also is the reason we all feel frustrated.
That's right.
Because if this energy keeps coming through us, and I feel like we can all resonate with this, if we feel like there's just so much more that we want to do and we haven't done it yet, we get frustrated. Because the energy keeps coming through us. And if we don't have the vehicle to express it,
That's right.
you get so frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have the vehicle to express now. It's called the 30-day year.
Right. Yeah.
Because the 30-day year falls in harmony with that idea of multiplication.
That's right.
So if you go back even into the book of Genesis, it'll say, go forth and multiply.
Yeah.
We've been admonished even by modern leaders like a Ray Dalio, have a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. We've been told by Zwartz, like who wrote the book, The Magic of Thinking Big. We were told in the parable of the talents that the one servant that didn't multiply his talents when he just buried them, like he got big shit from the master, and he took those talent away from him and he gave it to the one that did good work. When we look at it scientifically, we're going to see that nature's constantly multiplying herself. Like you put an acorn in the ground, you're not just going to get an oak tree, you're also going to get 10,000 more acorns. You put a bushel of wheat into the ground, you're not going to get just one bushel of wheat, you're going to get 5 bushels, and you're going to get another 120 more seeds to go plant another 120 more.
Right.
Like
it
life
does
is,
multiply.
That's right. It's constantly multiplying itself all the time. So and we've heard before, like we have infinite potential. And it's true because there's a part of us that is universal. There's a part of us that is like the infinite or the divine or the cosmic, whatever brand you're into. But to start to understand that this purpose is a universal energy. And at the root of it all, it is to grow and it is to serve. Why would we grow? Why would we even bother growing? Well, because if you have more, you can release more. You can bestow more. And you can't give what you don't got. Even in the Bible, it also says, in all ye get understanding. So as you start to understand, like, if I had a purpose, what would it be? You could always make it a little song like, if I had a purpose, what would it be? Ba-da-bum-bum-ba-da-bum. If I had a purpose, what would
There
it
you go.
be?
For all the jazz artists out there, if that inspired you, please let us know.
So what we want to understand is that this purpose, this non-physical side of us that is a feeling, like it's not a thing. That's why people have a hard time putting their finger on it, because it's not a thing. It's not an idea. It's a feeling. And what it really is actually the spiritual side of ourself
Trying to work through us.
trying to express through us. And this is what makes many of us sick, because we've been programmed to suppress these
Yes.
ideas. We've been programmed to suppress it.
Yeah.
You know, I was sharing earlier with the sound engineer of the podcast that there's a gentleman that used to run workshops called Freeing the Natural Voice. And this gentleman said that most people go from the cradle to the casket and never actually hear someone's true voice. Like even right now, you're hearing a digitized version of my voice. So especially in the digital world, you can't actually ever hear a person's true voice. But he said, but even when you see a person face to face where you're talking to them, that voice is still being suppressed and processed through the belief system. So you have to learn how to free that voice. And he was sharing, like, he does drumming, and he was sharing that he's gone to, like, you know, drum sessions and where they're singing, and he said, yeah, there's some people, they, you know, it's like the Holy, they're speaking in tongues or something, you know,
Right.
Like the Holy Spirit comes down and they just start, they're free.
They're free.
They're free.
Fully expressing it.
That's
the
right.
spirit, the purpose, the energy, this universal sensation.
That's right. So human beings we've been given the power to choose, to select or be selected, you know, to direct how we'd like to live. But this part of us to grow and to express, that we do not have a choice. That is a constant. And many of us are getting sick and we're getting depressed. What is depression? Depression is suppressed desires. That's what makes a person depressed. If you are suppressing your desires to express yourself, what's desire? Desire is dea sire, give birth to the children. If you see the word sire, like let's say you meet a king, you say, yes, sire. Well, it's royalty. A cow can sire a calf, can give birth. So this purpose, energy behind us all, that is what's meant to fuel the ideas and the goals that control our behavior.
Yeah, it's big.
It's a huge idea.
Big, huge idea. Really, really big. Could possibly rattle some cages with that one, Dave.
It rattled mine. Like
Yeah.
I was, when I worked with Bob Proctor, we were in Toronto, and it was one of his highest level mentorships. A lot of very, very successful people. There was actually 3 people in that room out of 20 that were clients that were worth over 300 million, like a lot of money. Very
successful people.
Very successful people, but they were still searching. They'd produced amazing results and like insane results, but they were starting to wonder, like, is this all mental? Like they just were into the ideas that
Yes.
Bob was sharing, really is what it was. And with all these people in the room, none of them had truly sat and thought about the person. Now, as I was sitting there, I was like, I said, if I had a purpose, what would it be? So if anybody's unsure about their purpose is, you sit down and ask yourself this question: if I had a purpose, what would it be? And I started to do that, and it took about 3 days to start to craft my purpose.
Or unlock what was in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even Bob Proctor himself said that at that event, he said that he didn't start to identify a purpose or articulate a purpose until the mid-90s. So he'd been working for almost 30 years
Yeah.
without it. Once he started to back his energy with that purpose consciously, he said his growth started to happen significantly faster.
Makes sense.
Big time.
Because he's just more aligned to where his power really is.
That's right.
Where his power's coming from, where his creativity is coming from, and how it works through him. Well, it's just interesting. The deeper we go to know ourselves better, we become more powerful. So we can't help but become more successful. It does make a lot of sense. Like even just listening to you talk right now opened up a thought for me. If I look at someone successful, like people that come to mind off the top of my head, like an Oprah Winfrey, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, huge people, like people that have either amassed huge followings or have created massive companies. When I think about those people now in this term, it's like they have figured out how to take their ideas and move them through themselves, and then also then move it through the minds and the bodies of other people.
Through others, yeah.
And then they've therefore been able to transfer their ideas successfully into the world at a huge scale and at a huge rate. But I would venture to think on their first few days or first few months, the impact they had was pretty small. But as they began to understand how to move energy through themselves and then through others, then that compound effect would then take over. And then, the exponential multiplication would kick in. But it's like the hardest part is to kind of get the engine running. I was on a call yesterday with our clients. We were talking about like a locomotive, and it's like kind of slow at the beginning. It's like chug, chug. It's like building up energy.
You're usually crap.
You're usually crap. You're slow. You're clunky. You're just really kind of tired, maybe. And you're like trying to
try starting a change even when you're tired.
Yeah, exactly. And then eventually the locomotive gets going, and then it starts cruising, and it's just like, and it's like rolling. Now we have high-speed trains. Now we have electric cars. You're just gone. Man, I can punch it in my Tesla and I crush everyone on the freeway. It's hilarious.
Well, the universe loves speed. The universe loves speed. The universe loves speed.
Exactly. And so I'm just looking at success so differently now. It's just, you see someone that's having an impact, like, don't judge those people. Just ask yourself, like, what do they know that I don't know? And then also, like, how is this idea of energy and purpose working through them in order to create a bigger impact? Start to think these things, right?
Have you ever been judged?
Oh, yeah.
You ever been judged for the good that you're doing in the world?
I have.
Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting.
How did it make you feel?
And you know what? It did make me feel good. And I was actually going through this like period of questioning not long before this actual recording, and struggling with that a bit. And then also wondering, like, how willing am I to continue to put myself out there for the sake of the work we're doing, which is to help people uncover potential and power and success. And I had to ask myself, how am I willing to keep going? And because I know it's going to get worse. It's not that what was said was all that bad and that it wasn't unexpected, because that's usually what happens to those people that are willing to put themselves out there, that they're going to get judged or criticized or questioned for the worse, not for the better. And so that's only going to get worse. Like, people are always up to create tension. And so I had to be like, oh, okay, it's starting and it's going to get worse. How strong am I going to have to get in order to withstand that? And so
you need a purpose to back you.
You need a purpose. And I have a very clear purpose. To summarize it in its simplest terms, my purpose that's been revealed through this work over the past 7 years is that I just want to inspire people. I want to inspire people to just understand who they are so that they can express more of who they are. That's really all it comes down to. It's that simple for me. So it's really one word.
Inspire.
Inspire.
In spirit.
In spirit, yeah. That's my purpose.
When I first wrote out my purpose statement, I used to be extremely left-brain human being.
Yeah.
I worked days.
Do you think you still are left-brain?
Oh, I'm sure I am. Yeah. I would think so. Even though I work really hard at the right.
You do. You do work really hard at the right. But I do think that your creativity has really expanded, if I were to pay you a compliment.
Thank you, Jacq. Thank you. I work really hard at it.
I know you do. I know you get your beatings by your coach, and she's a great coach. So,
so when I first wrote out my purpose statement, this is what it was. My purpose in life is to expand my own life so I can help expand the lives of others, living and working in a harmonious, opulent, and productive environment so I can be of greater service to myself, my community, my family, and therefore the world. Didn't really care about country. And that's how it started for me. Mm-hmm. So I knew at that time that I didn't have the power to change someone's life. Mm-hmm. I don't want that power. I've got the power to change my own, and whether that change rubs off on you, then you can absorb it, and then that you can change your own life, right? I remember I said to Bob Proctor once, I said, man, you've changed my life. He said, no, I never changed your life. He said, I just shared ideas with you that have begun to change your life. He said, I don't want the responsibility of changing your life. I'm a full-time job in myself, let alone freaking trying to change you.
What he did do is inspire you, though.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
gave you almost like a template to follow. Like, okay, Bob's done this. Why don't I just kind of follow what he did?
Yeah, my one good friend, Scott Edwards, he said, do you know what I'm most grateful for Bob Proctor? And I said, no, tell me. And he said, to show me a different way to live.
That's right.
Yeah, he never seen anybody live like him before. And
Yeah.
that's cool. And that's
He
kind of
created his own little wonderland. He really
Oh,
did.
yeah, no, he was a cowboy for sure.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't have the power to change someone else's life. So my purpose in life is to change my own life so I can help others change their life. Like, I don't change their life. So
Yeah,
there's,
they do
yeah,
it.
I don't,
They do the work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I do the work for me and I reap the rewards, and you do the work for you and then you can reap the rewards. Living and working. So living is my life, family, my life itself, and then working as well. Like, working is a massive part of work. And I think that if a person can find a labor of love, find out what they love to do and dedicate their life to it, flip, you got a person that's going to be a pretty happy person.
Yeah.
And then I put the criteria that it had to be harmonious. So
Great word.
yeah, it's a beautiful word. It's like, who the hell wants disharmony? Like, nobody.
Who wants chaos?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, has anybody here ever been around a married couple that has disharmony in their marriage? Like,
Yeah, it's not pleasant.
it is terrible.
It's not nice.
Have you ever sat at a dinner table with two adults, married couple that do not get along? It's
Right.
like, oh, this is terrible.
Right.
Just watch out for the daggers flying across the table as they throw them at each other. It's just very unpleasant. And I spent a lot of my life in unharmonious environments, and you can get accustomed to that. And I've learned since then you don't have to be. And then opulent, luxury, wealth. Jacq and I identify ourselves as free and honest thinkers that like bougie shit. All right. So free and honest thinkers that like bougie shit. Like,
It's true.
Want the good life.
It's true. Yeah. I'll say that I'm responsible for the bougie shit in our life. That's definitely my strong suit. And I want to shout out Brooke Martin for teaching me that word, actually.
You got to be taught, right?
Got to be taught.
Yeah. And then the last is productive, because, in the world of personal development, in the world of manifestation, the world of thought, there's a lot of people out there that don't produce any results. I was one of those people for 15 years. And so we got to be able to produce with the ideas. We want these ideas to see the light of day. We want them to do what we want them to do, not just stay in our own heads. So working in harmony, working in opulence, and then working in productivity. And then to live in that life so you can influence, your family, your community, and therefore, country or world, whatever you're into. And then as I started to write that out over time, it's a very left brain thing, and it was a good start. But then it just evolved that just like yours, very simple.
Yeah.
My purpose in life today is to live in a state of grace. Because I find that if you're relaxed, if you have peace of mind, if I have grace, if I'm connected to that power, my own higher power, man, things are really enjoyable, and they
flow.
Kind of flow.
Yeah.
And it just all gets done on its own. It's
also
very strange
very
thing.
effortless.
It's wonderful.
It's effortless because it's like you're working, but it's with this sense of peace and calm. So it feels very, very natural. So you're living naturally with yourself is what it sounds like.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think that's my purpose, because when I'm calm and relaxed, and if I'm closer to my own power, then that power can distribute through me.
Right.
Any great...
So it's like the one word purpose. It's like the one word that almost begins to like summarize the energy of your work. That's cool.
Yeah, it's like any great spiritual leader is going to say the same thing. They're all saying the same thing. They're all saying that the power is the Lord that doeth the work.
Right.
They never take credit.
It's the energy working through them.
That's right.
Yeah. It's very
and
humble.
That's grace.
That is grace. It's also very humble too.
Yeah, and some modern schools of thought, like your manifestation schools, they would call that a flow state.
Flow state.
Yeah. Imagine being in it all day long.
Sounds great.
Watch out, here I come.
It sounds like one of those like lazy rivers that never ends. You just like okay, so I would actually consider, like, you probably don't identify with this word, but like you're kind of nerdy when it comes to certain things. But really it's more obsessive. Like you become very obsessed with certain things. So like a person like myself would be probably deemed a nerd, but I guess you're like an obsessive nerd because you really love science. Like you watch a lot of documentaries, you like to study a lot about science, which I find interesting, and a lot about energy And I know we're talking about energy in this like kind of more spiritual context, but like, what do you know about more of the scientific understanding of energy?
In what way?
Like where it comes from?
Well, that's the ultimate question.
I know, and I just want to hear your thoughts on it, because it's like it is the question, isn't it? Like, where the heck does it come from? Like, I was like, I'm obsessed with eccentrics. I love eccentrics exercise. I find it very enjoyable. It's very free flowing. It's dance related because I have a dance background. I love it. And one of my teachers that I work with online, she's always talking about like the mitochondria in my cells. And when I do this like certain movement, it's like firing up the mitochondria in my body. And she's like, you're going to feel super rejuvenated after, and you'll feel very energetic and more vibrant. And I'm like, yay, I want all those things. And, you know, she's right. Like after the class is over, I do feel those things. Like I could take a nap, I could have a coffee, or I could do eccentrics, and they pretty much all have the same effect. Isn't that cool?
It's unreal. And no one knows where the mitochondria comes from.
That's right. It's just like the energy in my cells releasing.
Yeah.
And then it's through the movement of my body that they're able to release. And because, you know, I work on a computer, I'm online a lot. And so like to break that up with movement is like necessary, as anyone that works like that will know. You have to move your body to like get the energy flowing, get the blood pumping. And so I hear her talk about mitochondria all the time. And then I hear you talk about like black holes and like space and stuff. Yeah. I want to be clear. I'm not the space nerd in the relationship. Dave's the space nerd. I'm the one that has the telescope that just got unpackaged that I was gifted like a year ago. But I'm looking forward to hearing like your insights about space. But also, what are your thoughts on energy, like in those terms? Like, where does it come from?
Well, the first person...
And I know we're theorizing right now.
Yeah, well, like the first person that came to the realization or stated like energy is, right? So if you go over to science, like any scientist will say, well, energy is. It's neither created nor destroyed. If you go over to religion, they're going to say God is the Alpha and the Omega, right? So when it comes to energy, what we got to understand is that we actually know very little, if anything.
Yeah. It's this big question to be answered. Even there's like in light bulbs, remember this? Like there's the space, there's the no thing within the light bulb. That's actually where the light comes from within a light bulb, meaning that when a light bulb is manufactured, they take all the oxygen out of the chemicals. Where the filament is, all the chemicals, all the actual air is removed. And that's actually how the light appears. Yeah. Light can only travel through a vacuum.
That's right.
Which is so nuts.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't that just like blow your mind?
Sure. Well, it did until I learned it. And then
and now it doesn't anymore.
I was like, oh, whatever. That's just like, you know, next, what's for supper, you know? So yeah, when it comes...
I think it's ribs tonight, actually.
When it comes to energy, energy is. So they say that energy neither created nor destroyed.
Right.
So what that means that everything's already here.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
So what it is different manifestations of it, different frequencies. So there's only one mind. We just we share the one mind. Universe, one verse. The word cosmos actually means order.
So, I told you guys he was a nerd.
Yes. So because the science has done great. Scientific awarenesses have done great for my spiritual awarenesses because they're both working with the same thing. I don't know why they fight with each other.
Well, you know what's funny is that, and I this blows my mind. Like when we started doing a lot more mental science study together, and then we'd watch these documentaries, I'd be like, oh my God, like my head was like going exploding. And it wasn't because I hadn't heard of, you know, laws of the universe before. It's because I had never applied them to me. It was almost as though when we grew up studying science, we removed ourselves from the equation.
That's right.
We removed ourselves from the universe. It's like, okay, if this is how energy flows through the world, if this is what momentum is, if this is what physics is and light and all these things, why am I any different?
You're not.
I live on this planet too. That means the laws must work through me as well. And so when we separate ourselves from the natural world, I think that's when a lot of problems can happen, a lot of confusion and a lot of separation. And then we actually lose our power and our connection. That's
right. So then when a lot of people go to set a purpose, they're just attaching it to an idea.
Yeah.
But you understand the idea can change. This purpose is constant because it's universal.
Right. Yes.
And it's the universal side of yourself. So if a person says, I'm a spiritual being, well, you could also say I'm a universal being. There's a part of me that's actually omnipresent. And the truth is that we know very little. So no one knows what energy is, but we do know this, that energy operates by law. And we also know that it goes from a higher to a lower potential. So you take the spiritual or the no thing, it moves into the something, into the mind of the person, which could form an idea, like anti-bullying boy.
Right.
And then that something is then expressed through the body.
Right.
So that literally, like, almost imagine, like, visualize like a funnel where this energy is constantly trying to move through you and express through you or out of you. You could think about your body, or think about your, like, soul or your spirit. You just see this, like, little light. You know, you see these images of, like, someone has a little, like, light ball as a heart.
Right.
And it's like it's emanating out. It's the same with our solar system.
Yeah.
So what is this? How did our sun get created? Well, a bunch of helium and a bunch of hydrogen started to condense, and then it causes fusion, nuclear fusion, and then that makes, and then explodes, and then it makes all the planets.
Right.
And then from that, it starts to rotate around that thing, and our sun becomes our supply. And then eventually that sun's going to die, though.
Yeah.
And all energy returns back to its source of origination. You know, I asked this question a couple of years ago, and I was like, why is everyone trying to get to heaven? You know, why is everyone trying to get to heaven? And then
Well, it sounds nice.
yeah, exactly. And then I concluded,
I don't know.
yeah, it sounds nicer than here. One time I had a person say, Conway, like, do you even live in the physical world? I said, I only come back when I feel like getting depressed.
Jeez. Tell us what you really think.
And yeah, so this energy returns back. So our sun will turn into a black hole, and it'll start sucking everything right back where it came from. You know, I was at Griffith's Observatory on one of my local tours there where I was hosting. Yep. And I brought a couple of youngsters wanted to come with me. They're probably about like 23 or 4 years old, young, fairly fundamental Christian couple.
Yeah.
And we went into the sunroom. And if anyone's ever been to the Observatory in LA, up in the Hollywood Hills there.
I love it there.
Oh, it's heaven. And
I love the Hollywood Hills too, period. Just like it there.
It's so cool.
It's a little smoggy, but I love it.
A little smoggy now.
I love
but
it.
It's a place where dreams have come.
That's right.
So we go. There's this room in the Griffins called the Sun Room, and you go in there, and it's just all sun education. There's this one portion of it that says that we're all stardust, and you and me and every single physical thing, everything on the periodic table has come from the stardust, has come from our sun. But what you need to understand is that there's a part of you that is not on the periodic table. Your mind, you're not going to see thought on the periodic table.
No, you will not.
That's right. So when that energy flows to and through you and I, it moves in through the form of wants or desires. And desire is the triggering mechanism to release energy. So as you start to entertain a 30-day or do I want it, as you start to set these bigger goals, what'll start to happen is they'll start to take on a life of their own. And this young couple, the fundamental Christian couple, and I'm not poo-pooing religion or anything like that or anyone's form of worship.
We're not here to judge.
I'm just observing. And, I went around because sometimes I get lost in there myself. And I came back around and the young girl was sitting there with like her head in her hands on the steps. And she said, I said, what's wrong? She's like, I got a terrible headache. And I said, are you okay? And she's like, I think I got to go. Then her boyfriend at the time, who I think is her husband now, he's like, yeah, no, like I should probably take her home. I said, okay. I said, I'm going to stay. I love it. So I was like, yeah, you guys just get yourself
You got ditched by your tour guidees.
I might have ditched them, really, to be honest. Good riddance. But interfering with my enjoyment. And so they left. And you know what it was? It rattled her belief system.
Yeah.
I will never forget, there used to be this DVD I used to subscribe to. It was called Wolfen, like dolphin
I remember
with
them.
WH.
Yeah, I can see the cover.
I have videos of like Zach Galifianakis before he was Zach Galifianakis.
Yes.
I have like videos of some of the guys from The Big Bang Theory before they were even on that.
Yeah, like Steve Carell was in some of them too.
Oh yeah, I've got ultra slow motion videos of ants, snapper ants, like snapping, and how I got a lot of weird stuff. But there was a DVD magazine called Wolfen.
Yeah.
And I remember one night I got my new wolf and I was like, oh, sweet. And I put it in.
Yeah.
And
talk about esoteric. Like, there's like 4 people in the world that want that subscription.
Well, they're not in business anymore.
Like, let's watch super slow-mo ants, y'all, for 2 hours. And some people are like, oh, yeah. Like, that's
me.
Dave Conway.
That's me. Yeah. So then there was this one video and it scared the hell out of me.
Oh, what was it?
All it was 3 images of suns.
Oh.
Like suns, like
Yep.
like our sun.
Right.
And one was yellow,
Yeah.
one was green, and one was red.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Like a stoplight. Like
Yeah.
a red, green, yellow.
And
Oh, right? Like when you're driving.
Prior to that video, I only thought suns were yellow
Right. Okay.
because that's the only sun I ever saw.
Right.
And science now has proven that there's like billions of suns.
Yeah. So trippy.
And what it was suns when they were dying.
Oh, okay.
So they change color when they
Like the
start to
different
die.
phase of the death kind of thing?
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
That's right. And in the sunroom, which I call the sunroom in Griffith Observatory, they have images of dying suns and new suns, like just coming out of the nursery.
Yeah.
Like the Pillars of Creation is a galaxy or solar system nursery. Like it's just mental. Like,
Right. Yeah. It's so crazy.
it's insane.
Yeah.
And as you start to ask yourself, like, how am I the same as that?
Yeah.
You know, like, how do I operate with these universal laws? Because we don't have a choice. We must obey them.
Right. We're part of this universe.
That's right.
Universe.
So that's
Yeah.
right. So when I saw that, so I knew what that girl was going through because my perception had changed so much. It scared the hell out of me, Jacq. Like I was sitting there
Yes.
watching this video, like
Well, do you know what it does?
terrified.
For sure.
It's like
But
watching a horror movie.
Right. Because you become confronted with how insignificant you are in so many ways. It's like, this is so polarizing. It's like we're so full of power and potential, and yet in the grand scheme of anything, we're so insignificant. And so it's almost just like, why take everything so serious? Just chill.
Yeah.
But at the same time, be like also very, very robust and expressive. It's so like remember when we came up with like a list of all the paradoxes of success? I feel like that's one of them.
Yeah.
It's like be big and huge, but also remember you're just super insignificant.
Yeah, you're just a worm, you know.
It's so weird.
It's
but
interesting because
it's interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
things are infinitely large, but things are also infinitely small.
I know, like Ant-Man, right?
That's right.
Oh man, any Marvel fans in the house? I love Marvel.
So when we start to think about purpose, understand that what it really is it's that universal, that huge, infinite part of yourself
Yeah.
trying to express.
Yeah.
And that's why we advocate for 30-day year
Yeah,
goals.
because it's multiplying.
It's multiplying. It's actually more harmonious to the human spirit
Right.
than setting small goals
Totally.
or no goals at all.
I love that. That's so true. Because if we are meant to multiply, then why hold yourself back in the goal setting process? And you know what's interesting about goal setting? We've taught so many seminars about goal setting. Is people they get so caught up on it, and it's just like, just go for the big goal. What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Just go for it. But actually, what do you have to lose? That comes up later. I feel like in the whole scheme of the 30-day year.
You got to lose everything because you got to give up everything you've got.
That's true.
I was at
go ahead.
we were at a seminar in Las Vegas, and there was a lady there who was really suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to her, very cavalier, I was like, "Oh," I said, "Oh, you're suffering because you're just making the great mistake of thinking your life is yours." And I said, "Don't worry about it. I used to think that too, and until I got over that, then I would suffer." So bigger, you are destined for more. That's why you feel that way. How does that express through us? It's through the goals and the thoughts we think. It's the goals we set, the thoughts we think. And as you start to understand what you really are, you're going to find a marvelous world starts to open up.
Sounds great.
Sign me up.
Sounds great. I do actually want to ask you a little bit more. I feel like we're getting into it, but I wanted to ask about faith and how faith connects to purpose, because I feel like with faith, we're believing something we can't see. You know, our number one value is faith in the unseen. And how do we develop faith?
It's difficult because we're always told to have faith, but what if you don't got it?
Exactly.
I was like, well, thanks, man. If I, let's be like, change your attitude. Well, good to know, but I don't know how. So what the hell?
Right. And how do I have faith that if I do that, it's actually going to deliver what you say? And, the questioning comes back to faith all the time.
You got to try it. So in the book Think Rich as well, Napoleon Hill said, trying to teach faith is like trying to teach faith to a person that doesn't understand it is like trying to teach a blind man who's never seen the color red. Right? It's impossible.
It's like a feeling.
That's right. So the only known way for a person to start to develop the state of mind, so what you understand is that faith is a state of mind. It's not just believing in a doctrine or believing in a religion or believing in a philosophy. Faith is a state of mind that you are supported. The root of everyone's paradigm, of mankind's paradigm, is that we're unsupported. And if you can start to understand what faith is, which is trust, the word confidence, the root word of confidence is fidere, which is faith, which is trust.
Right.
And we have to understand that we have a power that supports us in everything. Regardless of the nature of the thing, it's a supportive power. There was a man that killed a whole bunch of people in Maine, I think in the last couple of years there. And you think, how the hell did that happen? It's like, well, he supported in his ideas, regardless of the nature of the idea, still supported. The same soil, anyone with a garden will know this, you could have a beautiful rose and a beautiful blade of grass, and right beside it a weed.
Right.
It's indifferent to what's grown.
Right.
It will support it. So what we have to start to do is we have to condition the mind that we are supported. That's what we have to do.
Yeah.
And if we told a story on an earlier podcast about Darcy, and I said on there that, he set the 30-day year goal, 144 grand a year to 144 grand a month. But it took him 7 months to believe it. Once he believed it, it took him two months to achieve it. So the total was 9 months. But the first 7 months was him developing the state of mind that this was a feasible idea for him. So he must have really wanted it.
Right. His desire was strong.
That's right. So how do you entertain ideas if you don't have faith? How do you entertain ideas that you're not interested in?
Yeah, you can't.
Exactly. It's a catch-22.
Yeah.
So when you start to develop the mind known as faith, there's only one known way to do it, and it's through auto-suggestion. Repeated affirmation, repeated entertaining of that idea over and over and over and over and over again until eventually that idea starts to attract the requisite power to produce itself. And this is what in the Bible where Jesus talking about the mustard seed, he said if you throw a mustard seed on the gravel, it's not going to grow. The seed has to be planted into an environment conducive to its unfoldment. So if we want to start to speed up our growth, we need to start to condition our thinking that we are supported to really start to understand what it means to be created in the image and likeness of God, to really start to know that and to start to know our rights, that we have been given the godlike ability to select. We do have that power.
That's right. We have choice.
We do. We have free will. Blessing and a curse for most.
That's right. Because there's just so much to choose from, isn't there?
Yeah, it used to be a massive curse for me because I never knew I could choose.
Right. You didn't even know.
That's right. So then you get this idea of turn your annual income into your monthly income thrown into the drinking water.
Yeah.
Well, what's the chance of you having the requisite understanding and faith that's going to even help unfold that? So that alone is a journey.
Ugh, it's crazy.
It's crazy, man.
It's super fun, though. Like, I know it's daunting as all hell. We're talking about that we're part of the flipping universe and energy is everywhere and it moves through us and we have the option of how it expresses and we can articulate what that energy is. Dave's is grace, Jack's is inspire. Like, what's your word?
That's right.
Like, it's wild. It's wild. But it is really the beginning stages of this whole evolution of yourself. If you're going to multiply yourself, you got to get to know yourself better. You got to ask questions. You got to know, what's the energy that you're going to put out into the world. How are you going to articulate that? It's such a powerful question.
Well, you actually don't have a choice of what energy you put out into the world. You're already putting energy out into the world.
But you can decide, well, that's right. It's going out no matter what. But you can inform what kind of energy goes out.
100%.
You have control over that. Your attitude can control that.
Yeah. James Allen said, thought without purpose has no power. So the reason that we talk a lot about purpose in the 30-day year philosophy is because you're going to need it, baby. Like as you start to progress, as you start to run up against failure, as you start to run up against yourself, as you start to have conflict in your environment, because here you are, you're all of a sudden a kook head or a nut job. Everyone around you is not going to understand. You know, even after a year of me starting to pursue this, Jacq sat me down and asked me 33 questions because she didn't know who I was anymore.
Maybe we should do an episode like that.
Yeah.
I can get to know you again.
Yeah, get to know me again, baby. You know, here she is. You know, he was still a very attractive man in her bed at night, but she didn't know who he was.
He seemed familiar, but something was different.
A lot. Anyway,
okay.
So yeah, like as you start to explore it, you're going to need that purpose. You're going to need the universe to back you up. Mm-hmm. And like I said, James Allen said that thought without purpose has no power.
Totally.
So listen closely to the Darcy story, because he didn't have the requisite power. He just wanted it.
That's right.
He acquired the belief. He acquired the faith.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of a goal? The purpose of a goal is to grow. So what's the greatest gift? It's not the money. It's not the achievement. It's the expansion of your own awareness.
Yes.
In all ye get understanding.
I love it. That's so good. Just one quick story before we wrap up. I for sure ascribed to the identity of like the busy bee, like doing a million things. Like I had a job, I had a daughter, I had a nonprofit organization, I had a side hustle, I had all these things doing all the time. And in that phase of my life, I had zero understanding of purpose or energy. And as a result, my results reflected it at the end of the day.
I was the same.
It wasn't because I didn't work hard. It wasn't because I wasn't passionate or like had talent. It's because I just didn't know how to focus my energy, nor did I even understand that I had the option or the choice to really select how to express that energy. And that is for sure the greatest benefit of understanding purpose better has done for me.
Big time.
Has allowed me to become so much more impactful, to understand how I'm using my energy. I'm at a point now where I get kind of, and it's not intense frustration or anger, but that's the only time I actually find myself getting frustrated or angry is if I feel like I'm not using my time for the best possible good, or if it feels like I'm slipping into old inefficient habits. I get so annoyed by that because I'm like, that's just not how energy needs to move through me. Yeah, it's not the best use of my energy.
That's right, because the universe is not inefficient. The universe is very efficient.
And so when you become aware of that, that's like, honestly, I swear that's probably the only time I ever get frustrated in my like currently. If I get angry, I'm like, that's because that time got wasted, or it's because I wasn't doing the thing that I should be most focused on, which then leads into all kinds of topics like leadership and all kinds of things. But this was so fun. I loved it.
A hoot.
It was a hoot. Thank you for listening to The 30-Day Year. If you want more, hit subscribe. And to connect with us, visit conwaymentorship.com. Before our next episode, ask yourself this question. If I had a purpose, what would it be?
Produced at Sound Lounge by T-Bone.